By the time they gathered, the men of the village had filled the ground. The king and the elders were there. Each man came with his offering, goats and fowls in their hands. Then the chief priest spoke. He gave them his final instructions before the journey into the forest, to the great tree where they would seek the gods for answers. And with that, they prepared to set out. Before they left for the forest, the chief priest gave them his final instructions. He warned them of the forest, of the power of the gods, and of the price of disobedience. No one spoke. Fear sat on every face. It felt as if the gods themselves were standing among them. That was when they knew this was no ordinary walk. And then they moved. The chief priest led the way. The king and elders followed. One by one, the first sons of Ogbudu left the village square and turned their faces toward the forest, toward the great tree where their fathers once called the gods to speak. They were going to seek answers, to know what had angered the gods of the land, to beg for mercy and for the curse to be lifted. They had left the village behind. Now they walked the narrow road that led to the great tree of Ogbudu. This was the same road their forefathers had walked long ago, for a different cause, to give thanks and seek blessings. Now they walked it with heavy hearts, carrying the hope of the whole kingdom. The great tree was still far, but every step felt deeper. In Ogbudu, they said the forest was alive, and now they were inside it. The great tree was still far ahead, yet they knew the forest had noticed them. In Ogbudu, they said the forest was not one. First was the living forest, the entry into the forest, where the land still breathed. Beyond it lay the sacred forest, the boundary between the world of men and the world of spirits, where the gods were consulted. And deeper still was the evil forest, a place no living man should enter. Step after step through the deep forest of Ogbudu, the long journey was coming closer, and so was their hope. Before them stood a great root, rising from the earth like a gate. The chief priest lifted his staff. "This is the crossing," he said, "from the world of men into the sacred forest." And in silence they passed beneath it, stepping into the place where the gods were consulted. Deep inside the sacred forest, they came to a place where they had to stop. This was where they waited for the forest to respond. The chief priest stepped forward and performed the ritual to call for guidance. Everyone stood still. After a few minutes, something happened. 6 black-headed ravens appeared and hovered above them. In Ogbudu, these ravens were known as the guardians of the sacred forest. They had come to guide them to where the great tree was standing that day. The 6 black-headed ravens began to move, slowly guiding the way. The chief priest did not hesitate. This was the sign they had waited for. He stepped forward, and the people of Ogbudu followed behind him, walking in silence, led toward where the great tree stood that day. It was not long after the ravens led them on that they reached the place. The great tree stood before them. The chief priest did not delay. Space was cleared beneath the tree. The sacrifice was set, and there in the sacred forest, he began to call on the gods of the land. It had taken them 4 days on the road to reach the great tree. The king was there. The elders stood beside him, and from every family in Ogbudu, the first male child had come. No one was missing. Now beneath the tree, the sacrifices continued. Fire burned, smoke rose, and the people of Ogbudu waited, hoping the gods would hear and return peace to the land. This was the 7th day since they left Ogbudu Kingdom. 4 days to reach the great tree. 3 days beneath it, offering sacrifices without rest. The chief priest continued, calling on the gods again and again. The king watched in silence. The elders stood with him, and from every family in Ogbudu, every first male child waited, saying nothing, listening for the voice of the gods. As the chief priest continued to offer the sacrifices, something changed. The wind stopped completely. Thunder struck. Then the ravens returned and landed in silence. From a great opening in the tree, thick smoke poured out, spreading beneath its roots, forming a presence. Everyone felt it. The gods had come. Suddenly, the chief priest fell into a deep sleep. And there, in that sleep, the gods began to show him what Ogbudu had done long ago. A truth the kingdom had forgotten. An atrocity buried by time. 20 years ago, long before the river dried and before the land turned against its people, Ogbudu Kingdom lived in peace. In those days, 2 brothers shared the same blood under the same roof, and the gods showed the chief priest where the curse truly began. Among the 2 brothers, one stood out. His name was Obinna, the younger brother. While others struggled, his harvest overflowed. Hard-working, cheerful, blessed, a man the land favored. The people admired him, his parents rejoiced in him, and the village spoke his name with pride. The elder brother was called Ikenna, the first son. He tapped palm wine for a living, climbing trees before sunrise. His hands were never idle, but in the same compound, 2 lives moved differently. While Obinna prospered, Ikenna remained where he was, and slowly, imbalance took shape. 2 elders in Ogbudu carried envy in their hearts. Their own sons struggled season after season, while Obinna flourished. They watched him rise, and bitterness followed them. They found Ikenna and praised his hard work. Then they compared him to his younger brother. Little by little, they began to plant envy in his heart. At first, Ikenna dismissed their words. He reminded himself that Obinna was his brother. Again and again, on different occasions, the elders returned, and each time, Ikenna defended Obinna. But words, when repeated, do not leave the same way they enter, and slowly, they began to wait inside him. While Ikenna wrestled with his thoughts, life continued in Ogbudu. It was during this time that Obinna met Adama, a quiet orphan girl with no one to speak for her. She was gentle, soft-spoken. Her beauty did not announce itself. It rested calmly, and without effort she found a place in Obinna's heart.